This is Beyond the Veil with Norman Meredith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Norman again, coming from you from Pickens, South Carolina tonight with episode 30. We're going to talk about the mysterious Men in Black. And no, it's not Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones from the movie from back in 1997. Not those Men in Black. All right, Jackie's not with us tonight. She's leading a lunar expedition on the far side of the moon, showing her kids how to walk properly and safely on the moon's surface without bouncing off and becoming a object in space. So hopefully we'll see her next week. All right, before we get started, I'm going to share with you the new comic I got. All right, this is what happened when I was sitting in the cabin on my field investigation. I was chilled back reading a book, and old Mr. Bigfoot let himself know that he was outside my cabin. Yeah, that's kind of how I looked when he let loose that whoop. My eyes got big, and I was like, okay, dude, you were here. I didn't really feel like going out there and take a look, but I thought I'd humorize the situation. And I have a beautiful young lady that her first name is Brittany, and if you ever want to do any artwork done by her, let me know, and I will put you in touch with this magnificent young lady. She does beautiful artwork, both in the humorous style and the DC comic style. And later on, I'll get some more examples of her work and share it with you and get her linked with her permission. So if you ever want some artist work done, I highly recommend Brittany. She is a freaking phenomenal artist, and she is fast. All right, tonight's show. Like I say, Men in Black. And like I say, it's not Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, who work for a shadowy organization trying to dissuade people from UFO encounters. But these Men in Black are similar. And believe it or not, there's apparently two types. And we're going to talk about both types. The first type is the human type, who may be agents from the No Such Agency or the National Security Agency. They generally wear black suits, black ties, white shirts, and now they drive Lincoln Escalades and show up at different things. Now these fellas here are the original Men in Black. Black overcoats, black fedoras. They started showing up in 1947 as the first reported incident. And their first reported incident was at the Murray Island out in Washington State. There was a crashed UFO that occurred out there. A pair of Air Force investigators flew out there on a B-25 bomber to investigate. They found samples. A ufologist, Albert K. Bender, was out there. And interesting enough, when the Air Force investigators were leaving Murray Island to fly back with the samples they recovered, their aircraft mysteriously crashed, and the samples disappeared. Now, Albert K. Bender says he was approached by Men in Black. They didn't say who they represented, which agency they were with. Now, CIA was just coming up into growth at that time, so OSS may still been a little bit active back then, so it's hard to say who they were. They could have been FBI. Hoover was known to dabble into a little bit of everything, but these guys came up and threatened Mr. Bender, telling him, yeah, we don't want you talking about this. You'll continue not to investigate this no more. So apparently they were onto something. The Air Force investigators, especially with that evidence and what Bender was, the data he was collecting, to be threatened. Now, the human side of the Men in Black, the ones that people talk about here in the last 20 to 40 years, they wear the typical black suits. They don't wear the fedoras anymore. Like I say, they drive black Lincoln Escalades, SUVs, Suburbans. One of the latest encounters was back in Las Vegas, when the aliens were seen running around Las Vegas. Black SUVs showed up with Men in Black. I don't recall them ever showing credentials, and that's why I say I think they were at the No Such Agency. And they would show up and made the police officer sign NDAs or they couldn't talk about what they seen, what they encountered, any interactions they may or may not have had. And the reason I say National Security Agency, because they have their fingers in all sorts of things. Now, there has also been reports of a nuclear regulatory agency being involved in some of these UFO investigation crashes, sightings, and they would show up in black SUVs within the last 40 years and show credentials that showed them was a nuclear regulatory agency, and I don't remember which one it was, and they would do the same thing. And their biggest thing is intimidation tactics, basically. They would, our human ones, basically intimidate, and they throw the power of the government behind their words, threatening with jail time, sometimes some nearest things that they might disappear, not be seen again, sometimes even payoffs. Brazelton, who found the first UFOs back in the 40s, he was supposedly paid off by the government, by shadowy figures, to never talk about what they found on this farm when they found that first crash UFO that was discovered down there in New Mexico. So they're intermediaries of some agency here in the U.S. Now, the other branch of our Men in Black, and these are the ones that wear the fedoras, drive around in 1950s, early 60s, black Cadillacs. They are alien type in origin. They're generally hairless. Their features are very similar to each other. Excuse me a minute. I'm sorry, folks. Apologize. My sinuses are acting up. They seem to be, sometimes their speech and how they act is robotic in manner. Sometimes they wear dark sunglasses because you can't, this is even at night where you can't see their eyes. It's like they're hiding their eyes because they can't get the eyes right. That's one thing that's always been said when dealing with demons, possessed people, and aliens. When they take another shape or form, they can't get the eyes right. So in order to protect their eyes, they wear black sunglasses, even at night. And then they wear the hat to hide any irregularities in their head. Now here's a drawing of supposed Men in Black. And like I said, normally they're bald. Their eyes are a little deep sunken, and they wear black clothing, black ties, and the typical fedora. And their tactics are extreme intimidation. And then they throw out some kind of business. They might throw out a badge and say they're with such and such agency or such and on. They've even impersonated military personnel, U.S. Air Force, most active one that they've come up as. There's been reports of them showing up as Air Force personnel and taking people's witness statements, any evidence they may have collected, pictures, samples, residue, and then leaving with it. And then when the actual investigators show up, they're like, what do you mean you gave it to the investigators? We just got here. And they're like, well, the Air Force guys were here. What Air Force guys? Where are the Air Force guys? See, here, he's the Air Force guy. We're the civilian guys. There was supposed to be nobody else. And they'd show up. And a lot of times, they just seem to appear out of nowhere. Extremely, these Men in Black, the most extreme thing that they may do, and there's been rumors, and like I say, going back to the Murray Island incident, of assassinating witnesses and investigators because they got too close, or they found something they shouldn't have found, that they've killed them and made it look like an accident. They didn't want information getting out. They didn't want material to be found. Some say that it could be a paranormal side to this. I don't know. But I will relate a story from Dennis Carroll, who was on our show a couple weeks ago. Dennis was made the biggest mistake you can do in this field. One, you never challenge a demon or a ghost. Bad things happen. Never challenge cryptid. Bad things happen. Dennis openly challenged the Men in Black. And while he was in Anderson, because we're both from Anderson, that's how I know him, he was at a gas station, a little corner mom and pop type gas station. And this man showed up, and behind the man was a late 50s, early 60s black Cadillac with the fins, blackened out windows. And the man wore the typical black suit, hat, fedora. Wasn't quite human. And told him, yeah, you don't want to be messing with us. You know, you don't want to be doing this. You don't want to be talking about us. And walked back to his car. And Dennis made the mistake. He turned his head. And when we turned back, the man in the car was gone. And then a couple days later, Dennis was in the hospital for an unknown illness that made him deathly sick. He was in the hospital for a week because he challenged the Men in Black. You know, he made that mistake. You never challenge these people. You don't challenge anything spiritual, cryptid. No, they don't like challenges. I wouldn't mind talking to Men in Black, but I'm never going to challenge one. There's questions I'd like to ask, and if they want to answer them, that'd be understandable, but I will never challenge them. And then there was another incident. Dennis and I were talking off show one time, and he was investigating a Bigfoot incident out near Townville along Highway 24. And he was following a Bigfoot and lost it. And then he come up to the highway, and there was 3 black SUVs. And guess what? Yeah, Men in Black, but these were more human-like, and they were telling him he was trespassing, shouldn't be doing this and that. And he's like, look, this was public land, private property, had nothing to do with the government, blah, 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 blah. Well, they started reading him a bunch of different rules and regulations and government statutes, and basically escorted him back toward his vehicle and told him, yeah, you can't talk about this. You can't talk about what you do with the Bigfoot or what you're trying to do with the Bigfoot. And so those were his 2 encounters with Bigfoot. Oh, the Men in Black, excuse me. Now, I've mentioned a couple times on this show, and I think once when I was with Robbie Raines on his show, there was a time a truck driver struck a dog man. Late at night, he got out of his vehicle and then shot it with a .357. I think he emptied the entire cylinder in it, all 6 shots, to make sure this thing wasn't getting back up. Yeah, I wouldn't want it to get back up either. I'd empty a whole clip into something like that if I hit it. I don't want it to get up. Wounded animals are nasty. You don't want to mess with them. Well, after he got done shooting it, and he's standing there scratching his head, wondering what he's going to do next. You know, who's he going to call? Who's going to believe that he hit something like a werewolf when these black sedans, you know, these black SUVs pulled up? Yeah. Men in Black. They said they were from the government. No such agency. And they said, you killed one of our assets. You need to sign paperwork here, NDAs. This never happened. You never did this. You're not allowed to talk about it. And the whole rigmarole. They recovered the body. I'm not sure if they took care of any of his damages to his truck or whatnot, but basically, Men in Black intervened. Yeah. Another time in California, a object, and I'm going to say object because it may have been a satellite, could have been something else, might have been a UFO, I can't say, crashed on the outskirts of a city in California. And then all of a sudden, about a dozen black SUVs show up and form a circle around this object, put their lights on bright, and not just regular bright. We're talking super high beam bright, brighter than the ones you're seeing now with the LED lights. And out stepped from these vehicles, Men in Black. They were human types, blonde hair, black hair, brown hair, all in black suits, standing out front. When somebody tried to approach them to ask what was going on, they were chased back, saying they were from a no such agency. I don't remember which one they said. I'm just using NSA right now because, like I said, they got their fingers in all sorts of holes. Helicopter showed up, something was moved, but you could never see anything because the intense brightness of the high beams on these SUVs. And as soon as the object was moved, they took off like nothing ever happened. So Men in Black have been messing with events beyond our control for a long time. They intercede to hide the truth. They hide the evidence. They destroy the evidence. They get in the way of investigations. But now with revelation coming, I think they've backed down some. I may be wrong. I'll probably get a visit. And they'll talk to me and tell me, yay, nay. Please don't talk no more about it. I don't know. I hope not. But if it do, I hope it's a civil conversation like adults. Let's see. What else do I got here in my notes? Let's see here. Here's an example. Here's something that by Benjamin Radford. It's the Men in Black, the UFO buff's boogeyman. The Men in Black are said to be mysterious dark-suited figures who contact UFO witnesses and warn them not to tell anyone else about what they know. These figures typically appear in groups of 3 and are usually assumed to be either government agents or shape-shifting space alien disguise. Now, the one race that is supposed to be a shape-shifting aliens is reptilians. Yeah, think chameleon. Okay, and this is supposed to be a characteristic of the reptilian race, and there's a couple different types of reptilians. One day I'll have to get William Nighthawk on here to talk about reptilians. That is his favorite subject. But the only problem is every time he tries to talk about reptilians, strange things happen to his internet, so we'll see. The Men in Black supposedly visit UFO witnesses, tell them not to reveal the existence of the extraterrestrials. Okay, it's understandable. The origins of the Men in Black can be traced back to the early 1950s when a UFO buff named Albert Bender created a small organization, the International Flying Saucer Bureau, which published a magazine called the Space Review. In 1953, Bender claimed that he had been visited by 3 men wearing dark suits who ordered him not to continue publishing information about flying saucers. He offered no evidence of the encounter, and cynics noted that the magazine was losing money and likely would shut down anyway. Now that sounds like a good thing to try to do. You know, put up a big story and then see if it changes your revenue stream. But the Murray Island incident did occur. 2 Air Force investigators did die mysteriously in a plane crash. A decade later, Bender wrote a rambling book elaborating on the experiences, suggesting that his mysterious visitors may have been extraterrestrials who didn't want their existence known. The Men in Black were not alone. According to Bender's account, they were accompanied by, now that's a first, 3 beautiful women dressed in tight white uniforms. Now, I've never heard women in black or white uniforms, so I think Bender may have been a crackpot. You know, I think anything that he may say may have been to garner publicity for his books, his magazine, trying to do this thing. Now, it's interesting. We're not the only country that has Men in Black. They've been sighted in Europe, England, Russia. I don't know about China. Not a lot comes out about China. But a lot of the known countries that have UFOs have had Men in Black visit them. South America. They've been intimidated by what looks like Army officers, Air Force officers, Men in Black literally showing up and saying they were with such and such agency or were with the military, and especially in some of the foreign countries, some of the third world countries. If military officers show up and tell you, no talking, we make you disappear, you toe the line very hard and listen. And like in this picture here, it's a very rare picture to get of 2 Men in Black. They're hard to photograph. They're hard to get any form of evidence on. So like anything you can find on the web, a lot of times it's an artist's rendition of what they encountered because they're not very photogenic. They're like Bigfoot. They're a little blurry. It's just, they're hard to see. They're not, I don't know what to put it. They're just not, they're the boogeymen of the UFO world. And like I said, there's two types. There's the human type and what may be a alien / cyborg. We'll say cyborg because some of them seem to be robotic. There was a TV show called Fringe. Some of you may remember it. There was Men in Black in it. But these guys were like dimensional cops, I guess, or observers. They were watchers. They really didn't interfere. They were observing. And if you remember how they looked, they were all bald-headed, clean-shaven, black suits and hats. And like spicy food. I don't know about the Iron Men in Black, what they like, but it's just makes it a little interesting story. Now, if you know anything about Men in Black, have a story to share, or an incident that you've heard through a friend or family member, tell you what, reach out to me, share it with me, talk to me, tell me about it. I'd like to hear about it. Let us know here on the show about your Men in Black story. Or if you've seen a UFO and like to share about it, talk about what you've seen. Now you can come out there and take some information. Take a look around the area. Run the Geiger counter out there, EMF meter. Look at the area. Check the weather for the time. I'd love to come out, try it. But we're going to leave it off here tonight to leave you to think about the Men in Black. And are they real? Is it a government agency trying to interfere with the truth? Or are there serious aliens trying to prevent, at the time, their truth of their being let out? Because they weren't ready for us to know who and what is out there. Whether they're interdimensional travelers, time travelers, or from outer space. I want you all to think about that tonight. And remember, when you go out, watch your surroundings. Watch the skies. Watch the woods. If you see something or encounter something, try to take pictures. Try to get a audio recording. Write it down, especially write it down. Dates, times, location. And call somebody. Call me. Get a hold of Jackie on Facebook. We'll take the information. And if I can't, there are people I know in this community that can help you. If it's cryptid related like Bigfoot, there's members of the BFRO I would recommend to you, Bigfoot Field Research Organization. I will get them to help you all out if you need it. If it's a paranormal situation, Shane, his wife, and his organization from down on the coast, I can get them to help. I can get them to get people to help you. I can talk to Dennis Carroll. He can get people to come and help you. If it's ET, yeah, I'm going to be coming around to visit. I'm sorry, but I've had my own encounters and I feel close tied with that. That's something I would come out and gather all the information I can, and then I'll find somebody to help collaborate it with us. All right, a couple quick shout outs. I want to give a shout out to William Nighthawk's Into the Red Rabbit Hole podcast and his High Strangeness podcast. He is a great supporter of my show. He puts his stuff out on his show. Please, 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 please go to his website. It's on Facebook. Please like and share. Watch his stuff. He's a great guy to listen to. He's a wonderful person to pick and ask questions about. Please reach out to William. He's a wonderful person. Also, I want to give shout out to Logos, Signs, and Screen Printing. These people could not have made my show better. They did the logo behind me, did my t-shirts, my coffee cups, my decals, ball cap. These people are freaking awesome. You need something done in that genre, or even magnetic posters to go on the side of a car, laminates. These people I highly recommend. Tell them I sent you. I don't know if they'll give you a discount, but you tell them I sent you. Okay? You never know what'll happen. Also, reach out to Jackie's Zombie Palooza for her show. She helps support aspiring new actors, actresses, writers, producers. She helps support the entertainment community and up-and-coming folks. Look up her show, Zombie Palooza. All right, folks, before I get off, I think I'm going to talk about an interesting cryptid next week. It's called... my mind blanked. Oh, I can't think of the name. It's from up around Wisconsin. God, give me a minute. Let me look at my notes and I'll get you the answer. It's on the tip of my tongue. The hodag. Yes, it's a hodag. It's a very interesting creature. It's a cryptid. It's been around since around early 1800s. It's an amazing cryptid, and there's a festival that this town up in Wisconsin does every year. It's a Hodag Festival. There's a school football team. The police department uses the logo on their patrol cars. There's statues. There's a small museum. This is an amazing cryptid, and it's going to be a fun show to talk about the Hodag. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. Is we're going to talk about the Hodag. So we're going to talk about something fun, okay? And thoughts and things on the Hodag. So next week, we're going to be next Thursday, not Tuesday, because of commitments for Ed and I. So we're going to try to produce next Thursday and probably the week after that on Thursday. And we're going to talk about the Hodag next week, okay? So everybody have some fun, be safe, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week. Bye, folks, from Pickens.